So, welcome to video number 2. This is the Football Sage, and we have a lot of things to discuss. So, starting off with big thanks to Barcelona and Inter Milan for giving us such an amazing football match. I think that the biggest lesson that we can learn from a match like this is that you really don't know what you can expect. And I was just scrolling through Twitter and Instagram, and I'm just seeing the same things being reiterated again and again. That thank you for the Barcelona and the Inter Milan players for giving us such and we were treated to an amazing. We were treated to really one of the best football matches that we have ever seen. And I have a few notes here I want to go through and kind of get all my ideas out. But I have to say that this Barcelona team and this Inter Milan side have to be given a lot of respect for what they were able to get accomplished today. And that is giving us a match that we will always remember, a match that for the younger generation that's coming to be older, they can appreciate the game, the beautiful game, and appreciate the parts of it that really get overlooked. And I think today goes to show that effort above everything else really is what matters. If you don't put everything into something that you love and into something that you really desire to showcase, your art or your ability to the rest of the world, then you kind of have that feeling inside that you could do more. And I know from viewing the match, you could see the amount of respect that these two sides had for each other. I can remember games between Real Madrid and Barcelona in those famous 2010 to 2016 or 15 El Clasico games where it was head to head, and it got nasty sometimes. And that's really what it is, because you bring out a part and a side of something from that person that you're competing against that they may have not even believed was within them. So we have to first applaud the amazing performances from both sets of teams. And so Inter Milan came out with their 3-5-2 formation, which has been very difficult to break down. Starting in net, Jan Sommer, left center back Bastoni, center back is Acerbi, and the right center back was Biscek, DeMarco, Mkhitaryan, Chanaloglu, Barella, and Dumfries, with Thuram and Lautaro Martinez up top. So starting with Inter, I think that you can say that they came out of the blocks ready. Obviously that the pressure was on them. I think most people had believed that Barcelona were going to come out on top in this fixture, and so Inter understood what was at stake here. And I think Inzaghi had really placed within their hearts and minds that 2010 run that Inter Milan had with Jose Mourinho, and a lot of similarities you can feel. An Italian side going up against a top Spanish opposition. They both understood what was at stake, but the team that came out on top, which is Inter Milan, they stuck to what worked for them. And I think soaking up pressure and then finally executing, and I mean with great precision, that is Inter Milan's game. And it's very difficult to break them down. When you manage to get a goal or two, you really had to work them to the bone. So, in terms of the first half, I think that Inter Milan can feel very happy with the way that the match panned out, especially because they got a goal from a mistake from Dani Olmo. DeMarco had, switched it on as soon as he had recovered possession. It was straight behind that defensive line, and this defensive line of Barcelona was very integral for them to progress through Europe and to be at the top of La Liga, and also beating Madrid side twice in two finals of cup competitions. So this Barcelona team, they play with a lot of confidence in this line, and Hansi Flick has really managed to get them in a space that they feel they can trust one another fully. Defensive lines are always something to be weary of, because if one player is not linked mentally with the rest of the back line, it doesn't work. And you can see, someone may be sloppy to get back in line with the defense. Someone might be holding another player onside, and I'm sure that people will remember this entire season how Barcelona were able to exploit the top teams in Europe with this offside line. But when you can time the run, I mean, not just the attacking front line, that is the striker, left wing, and right wing, you can have someone from the deep position, such as the left back, right back, or maybe the center mids, such as Mkhitaryan or Barella or Chanaloglu, can be able to then spring forward. And in this particular instance, when Olmo had received possession but then had given it away, DeMarco understood that Dumfries was on the run. And so once he saw it was a quick play in behind, Dumfries onside, and then plays it unselfishly to Lautaro Martinez. So then seeing them go and double the advantage, you kind of had the sense of it being Inter's day. It was a penalty, I have to say. And again, I'm going to reiterate this until they manage to fix this confusion. We knew it was a penalty. We just want to hear the conversations that are being had with the referee in the VAR room, because I found something that was interesting, that the commentator says, we don't know what the referee's saying and we won't know. And to say that, and to say that to the fans and those who are viewing it in the stadium and at home all around the world, it gets very infuriating. I think as fans, we would rather just hear the conversations like an NBA style, because it gives you someone to hold accountable, I think, because at the end of the day, with the introduction of something like VAR, you can kind of have the blame shifted onto the governing bodies, whether that be FIFA, UEFA, or the individual leagues, and then you then can criticize and critique those who are, in positions of power, to be able to make changes to rules or what you have it. I know that people were angry with former manager of Arsenal, Arsene Wenger, who had attempted to propose a new offside rule, which virtually allowed someone to be a little bit offside, because why not? That's just his thought process. But we want to hold these people accountable. And so I think conversations should be had, and conversations should be made public, especially in the midst of it all. Because imagine if it's the 98th minute and Kurbasi goes in for a challenge like he did. Again, I don't fault Kurbasi for doing such a challenge. I think it's in the midst of the moment you want to win the ball. But Lautaro Martinez understood the eagerness of Kurbasi to win the ball back would allow him to get himself in the position to be fouled, and then for them to win a penalty kick. So first half, Inter Milan played their game. They made sure to capitalize on the chances that they were able to create. But I will be honest with you guys, this would not be Barcelona, especially this season, the Barcelona that we've come to know, without there being some sort of a retaliation. And Hansi Flick made sure to get into the minds, into the psyche of this young group of players that we must not crumble under this pressure. We did not come from all of this that we have dealt with. You know, a lot of these players have seen what's been going on with Barcelona these past few years. A lot of them have watched as idols, as players that they admired to become one day ousted from the club due to financial problems. I know the most notable example will be Lionel Messi. And outside of that, I can think of um, the mismanagement of funds when it came to the money that Barcelona were able to acquire from Neymar's deal. I think going to sign players like Dembele at the time, it was a good decision, but it didn't pan out for them. I think you can think about Coutinho for another example, but you know, a lot of these young players, you know, they weren't able to see Barcelona at the height of the power that they were at. For example, in the 2010s to 2014 time period. So a lot of these players wanted to be able to actually create history in this moment in time. And so I'm very impressed from their response. I think it was a very mature game from Barcelona. Frankie de Jong captained the side today. You know, Pedri, you cannot really ask more from a player like him. And so, you know, for me, going into this next leg for, you know, this next step for Barcelona is that you can really build with this team. They have a few areas I think that need improvement. I think obviously the goalkeeping position needs to be sorted out for next season. There's a few people that they can look to be able to bring into the team. I think the striker position is another area that they can actually find a lot of worth from. So it depends on how they can actually deal with what comes in with this next step. But for me personally, this game really showcased to me how resilient this young Barcelona team really are. And so one thing I have to then say right now is Gerard Martin, what a phenomenal second half that you had in particular. You played a little bit of a, you know, nervous game again in experience. It showed, you know, he was making sloppy passes. He wasn't defending well. He wasn't tracking well. He wasn't being strong in the positions where he should be strong. And so for me, seeing him then flip it to the next half and go ahead and get these two assists, it made me understand this team is cut from a different cloth, even though they're young, even though they're inexperienced, even though this is the first time that they've actually been in this situation. It lets me see that this team is special. They want to win. They wanted to get to this Champions League final, and you could see it, right? So, you know, their team set up because Kunde had went down injured in the first leg. I had said before, and that was another doubt. But Eric Garcia had come in and filled, especially in the second half, filled that position very well. He should have scored that chance, guys. I have to be honest. That corner kick that they defended, where Lamine Yamal then carries the ball from his half, plays it. They have a 3 versus 2. They should have completed this. They should have scored. That would have been the comeback right there. And then the momentum keeps going. I think what really happened there is it was the right play, right? To Gerard Martin from Pedri. And then from Gerard Martin, he slides it to the other side. But it was his finishing. He comes to the left foot instead of opening the body to the right. Because when you go back and watch the actual shot, the ball comes and he shoots it directly at Sommer. So in the game, you know, in the pace that it was being played at, you believe that Sommer was able to track back and get to the ball, but it was really that Eric Garcia had shot the ball to him instead of going to the gaping side, which was on the right. I think that it's something that's gonna, you know, eat at him. But outside of that, this Barcelona team played well. Kurbasi, Martinez, and him coming off at the 76, that was, very tough for them to cope with, because I think his leadership, especially in the dying moments of the game, would have been very necessary. I think there's only one player today that I can feel let me down in terms of a performance in both sides of the teams, and it's Arroyo. Arroyo came off the bench and he looked shaky. He looked a little bit nervous, and it showed. And I think because you saw he was responsible for Acerbi's goal, which again, I said at the beginning of the video, you can't predict any of these things from occurring. Football is such a beautiful sport that anything can happen at any given moment. And so when something as randomized as a center back choosing to move forward at the death of the game to then find a ball played from his right back, which was Denzel Dumfries, because the way the ball came it was a long ball. It drops. No one controls it. It then finds its way. Someone slips, and then it gets to Dumfries, and Dumfries plays it to Acerbi, and Acerbi scores a beautiful goal. But it was on Arroyo, right? So even though Barcelona did exactly what they should, they came back, they managed the game well, they were able to fatigue Inter Milan, and it was visible. You could see it in Marcus Thuram. You could see it on Lautaro Martinez's face. You could see it on Çalhanoğlu's face. You could see it on Mkhitaryan's face. You could see it on Bistric's face. They were gassed. But this is the one part of football I think that this young team will have to learn from, because in losses you must center yourself to learn and to really absorb what can come from pain and sorrow, because in moments like this you need to be strong. And I think that this young team will feel as if they were robbed, not because of any certain decision, but because their effort was absolutely what it should have been. They put everything out there. They didn't leave anything to chance. They made sure to do everything that they could to maximize their chances of winning. And now, going to Rafinha's goal, like, that is football. Like, it is, it's just a beautiful play to him. He goes to shoot it. Solmar parries it. Again, it falls to his feet, and he just leathers it into the bottom right corner. Does Sommer make a hash of it? I really do believe he could have done better. But that's what it is. And at that moment, we all believe that's game over. In comes Acerbi. He ties up the game. It goes to extra time. And I think this is where the game was able to flip. I think those substitutions that Inter Milan were able to make Inzaghi, because Inzaghi's understanding of the makeup of this team was more tailor-made for such a situation. Because Flick, this is his first season as the Barcelona head coach. We forget how fast football moves at some points, because this is his first season. It's felt like he's been with this team for 2-3 years because of the camaraderie, the chemistry, the ability to trust one another, to push one another. It's felt like 3-4 years he's been with this young group. And so I am in no way saying that it was inexperience on his part. No, it's that even if you are aware of the strengths and the weaknesses of certain players in your team, there's just certain people that you don't feel comfortable bringing on in certain situations. And I think when I looked at that first half, I felt, wow, maybe you take off Olmo, maybe you take off Gerard Martin, maybe you take off Eric Garcia, but only a manager in that moment knows who to stick with and who to play with, because Olmo ended up getting a goal, right? If I was the coach, I would have been sacked after this game. I would have made those subs out of pure, in the midst of it. But it takes a calm mind to weather the storm and to trust his players. And so with Inzaghi knowing the makeup of this team, because they're only removed 1 year from the Champions League, right? They got to the Champions League final 2023 against that Manchester City squad that eventually ended up winning. But having players like Zielinski come off the bench, having players like Davide Fratesi come off the bench, having players like Mehdi Taremi come off the bench, right? These are experienced players, especially Zielinski. He just won the Scudetto a few years back, guys. Let's not forget these things, right? So in terms of experience, I think Inzaghi in this moment is probably the best suited for this match because he understands his players at a deeper level. So he was able to get them on the pitch when it mattered most. And maybe it was to the detriment of Barcelona to keep the possession that they did, especially from the 60th to the 90th minute. They were really bossing the game, but they only had maybe one chance, as in Rafinha's chance. Outside of that, it was basically Inter Milan sitting back, absorbing the pressure, dealing with it, subbing off the players that were tired, and then waiting for the second win to come in. So that was Acerbi's goal. Now you go into the extra time, and now you have all your fresh players. Because again, remember, De Jong is still on the pitch. Pedri is still on the pitch. Olmo was subbed off for Fermin Lopez, but Lamine Yamal is still on the pitch. Rafinha is still on the pitch. Lewandowski came off the bench, and we'll come to him because he had an amazing chance, right? Lamine Yamal, he plays him a perfect ball. He needs to feed. But we'll come back to that. So in terms of the substitutions, Eric Garcia comes off, right? You bring on Fort, and he's a young player. Gerard Martin is still on the pitch. Koulibaly comes off, right? So it's like in the midfield, you bring off Pedri at the 106th minute, and he's knackered. You could visibly see it. There was one play that he was in, but his legs were gone. He's tired. He's exhausted. These guys have been running, for 90 minutes in the first leg, 106 minutes in the second. Like, it's grueling. It's hard work. And so the substitutions that Inzaghi were able to make really ended up becoming the reason why they won. And again, I don't want to harp on Arroyo too much, but it was his fault. It was, really, it wasn't the best defending from him. He should have done better with as well. Marcus Thuram has been playing in both legs. He played all minutes in both legs. He didn't get subbed out, guys. So you have to remember this. He's just as tired. Arroyo, you just came off the bench. You should be in much better condition to deal with a striker who has just played 90 minutes at your home ground. Now he's in the San Siro, and he has been having to deal with an offside press. He's been having to deal with limited chances. So the one time you have to defend him, which is in the corner, you let him spin you, and you let him get in front of you, and you're behind him? Come on. And then he then plays it to Davide Fratesi, right? Davide Fratesi takes his time. It's composure. He fake shots, gets Arroyo out of the play because he's then tracking back, and Koulibaly is there. He's trying to block it, but his body is falling, and it's a beautiful goal from Davide Fratesi. And then from there, it was basically chance after chance after chance. Barca tried to throw everything that they could, right? Bringing on Gavi, just trying everything. And Gavi did have a chance. As soon as the second half of extra time started, they had a chance. They were literally right in, like the first play. They were right there. And it makes you feel like in games like this, Jan Sommer's performance really won Inter this game because they would have been up by 4 or 5 if it were any other keeper. Who knows, right? All we do know is Jan Sommer came up big in the moments that mattered most, and he has to be given a lot of plaudits. So does Denzel Dumfries. So does Acerbi. So does Bastoni. You know what I'm saying? Like, these players, they played out of their mind today. And I'm looking at the kilometers ran by both teams. 147 kilometers for Inter. 146 kilometers for Barcelona. These boys were running. They were running for their life. They wanted to win this game so badly. And as a fan, as a neutral, I love that because you want to put every single ounce of yourself into this game that we love. And so for me, moving forward, it's going to be very interesting to see how other teams come and then manage to, replicate this sort of passion week in, week out. I think, of course, it's the Champions League semifinal. We want to give everything we can because we want to get to the Champions League final. But I would love to see teams playing against everybody like this. Put everything out there, every game, you know. That's just, my own little shtick. But, I'm a Manchester United fan. I loved Roy Keane. I loved, quotes of his saying that, I would, you know, love to put everything out there and leave everything out there, not feel as if I could have done something different. I could have done this different. I could have done that. It doesn't matter. It's all about you feel good what you put out, and you don't regret anything that you did. So it's a humongous respect to Inter Milan. And I have to say, both sets of fans will be giving each other a big hug and a shake of hands. You were a formidable foe, both of them. Absolutely, they took each other to depths that they didn't believe that they had in them. But it takes someone of equal position in terms of want and desire to bring that out of you. And so for me, as a neutral, this was an amazing football game to watch, and I really hope tomorrow's game is the same, and I'll be making sure to bring that to you guys too, because every game that we've got left, we got to savor it. We got to appreciate it, because, these are the types of games, that young kids are watching, and they want to become footballers, right? Or they want to get into this football space. And it's beautiful because it gives everyone something to talk about, everyone to smile about, everyone to appreciate these moments, because games like this are very, very hard to come by, and especially the history behind such a fixture. Like, yeah, I'm really loving where the game of football is and where it's progressing. I think Lamine Yamal is head up, man, head up. It sucks, it hurts. I get it, and it is what it is. Like, you can't change what happened. You put all of you could out there, and it sucks because this is a 17-year-old, guys. Like, it really does make you sit back and realize there are some special people on this planet, that we share our breaths with, because it's insane what a young man like him is able to accomplish at such a young age. And I really pray for his best, and I really pray that he's able to continue on this journey and find himself as a footballer, right? Imprint his art for us all to see and appreciate, because players like this are special, man. It isn't about the goals, it isn't about the assists, it's about the feeling that he gives you when you see, you sit up when you watch someone like Lamine Yamal. You sit up, you're sitting there, and you're like, what is he about to do next, right? I saw him rinsing the left back, Carlos Augusto. I feel bad. I felt bad for him, man. He was doing some nasty stuff to him. I mean, look, guys, what a game. Major respect to both teams. Like, either one would have been a worthy finalist, and for it to end 7-6 after both legs, I mean, come on. It felt like a war. And, big congratulations to Inter Milan. Massive, massive respect to Barcelona and this young group of players. I really believe that they're going to be back next year. I really believe they're going to make some key acquisitions, especially in the striker position, goalkeeping position. So this team is not done. This team is not done. I love that saying, delayed but not denied. So let's see next season how this team ends up working out. But yeah, really great game, really great performance. I really love what I was seeing out there from both teams. But let's just hope we see the same, if not better, from Paris Saint-Germain tomorrow and Arsenal. So this is your boy, the Football Sage, signing out.